In today's video, we're going to talk about how James Gunn and Pete Safran and David Zaslav's DCU plan being under DC Studios, Chapter 1, Gods and Monsters. They did not mention any kind of team-up, any kind of Justice League movie outside of the Green Lantern series, potentially. But information going around, and this isn't new, but there's been a lot more evidence that it could be real, talking about the new Justice League being based around the comic book, The New Frontier, which I find very fascinating for the first time for the Justice League members to have a team-up movie. So, what is freaking good, YouTube? Warstu here. If you are new around, and make sure to subscribe to never miss any of the Marvel, DC, Kaiju, pop culture-based content that I personally try to cover on a daily basis. Go subscribe to the channel, let me know down below. If you were in charge of DC, which way would you take the Justice League? Would you have them form and have a team-up movie early, or would you let them, build up the individual characters slowly, which is the route I believe they should go down? And also, if you could, follow us on Instagram at Warstu to see the beautiful face behind the beautiful voice, and also check us out on Twitter, WarstuG. So, new DCEU leaks claim to shed some light on DC Studios. Now, something I find hilarious is, whenever people talk about the DCEU, they make out it's James Gunn's DCEU, but it's like, hang on a minute. Pete Safran has a lot of credentials here. He's produced a lot of huge movies over his time. He produced Aquaman 1, he did Shazam, he's done a bunch of stuff with other Warner Bros. Pictures, excluding DC stuff. So people exclusively say James Gunn is running everything. Yeah, sure, he's running the creative side. But I'm sure the silent partner, as I like to call him, Pete Safran, has some input. So apparently, it's going to be inspired on the Justice League New Frontier, Darwin Cook's classic New Frontier comic book, that some people think is one of the greatest comic book Justice League storylines ever. Personally, I think it's okay. I don't think it's great, but it's the villain that ruins it for me, because the thing with these DC, Marvel, all these superhero-based movies are, the villain has to be just as good as the story, because the normies, if you like, will want a villain they've heard of at least. So, we're reading this article down below. So apparently several scoopers are all I've seen this on Twitter, they're all sharing the same information about Darwin Cook's New Frontier. Will supposedly be what inspires the slate. The story will play out in a period setting, but saw the Justice League reluctantly come together to battle a villain known as the Centaur. Now, the Centaur does fit in with the plans that James Gunn and Pete Safran laid out, although Pete Safran wasn't in the video. So who the hell is the Centaur? As most people won't have a clue who the Centaur is, because you've got to understand, most people that watch comic book movies don't read comic books. And you don't have to. That's why it's always better to go with the famous villains that people have heard of. The Centaur was also known as the Dinosaur Island. He is a sentient island, and the Elder Rich being a villain in the DC comic book universe. It was the main antagonistic in the Justice League New Frontier, and DC, the New Frontier, the comic book was based around. So the Centaur was born in the core of Earth. It had been observing the activity of the surface for millions of years via telepathy. Upon viewing the growth of humanity and their potential to replicate the destruction force that human killed all dinosaurs, the Centaur decided to wipe them all out. The Centaur first possesses a child illustrator, compelling him to produce a picture book detailing its history and intentions. Upon realizing his fate, the illustrator killed himself. The Centaur also possesses various supervillain forms, cults, in its honor, attracting the attention of superheroes. It decides to counter their might by spawning dinosaur-like monsters, having them act as bodyguards. Once Lois Lane reports on the creature present over the Atlantic Ocean, Superman rallies all the superhumans he can find. Superman leads the charge against the Centaur, but is taken out by an energy blast. The other superheroes come to the conclusion that they need more than just raw power to stop the Centaur, and invest in the help of Ray Palmer's shrinking device, which causes atoms to destabilize and self-destruct. Whilst the other superheroes fight off the Centaur, dinosaurs spawn. Hal Jordan and Ace Morgan enter the center and attack it from the inside. The Flash, meanwhile, races around the centers exterior with the shrink ray, making sure the light covers as much surface as possible for the shrinking process to work properly. Finally, Hal Jordan, now mastering the powers of the Green Lantern, uses his ring to hurl the center into space, where it self-destructs. So, I'm not saying the center's a bad villain. He is OP. He possesses a lot of cool things like shape-shifting, energy projection, telepathy, possession, creature spawning, but he is kind of generic in that sense. It would have been better if we got villains for the new Justice League whenever they're formed, such as the Legion of Doom, essentially like, I guess they're like an anti-Justice League, or Lex Luthor, or Brainiac, or the Anti-Monitor, seeing as it would be called Multiversal Story, or the Crime Syndicate from Earth 3, or Vandal Savage would have been a good one. I mean, they've used Starro in the Suicide Squad movie. I mean, the Starro. The problem with James Gunn is he likes to use unknown characters and unknown villains, but the Justice League movies, they kind of have to have villains that people know about. So it does line up with the weird kind of slate that is gods and monsters and all these weird kind of things that have been revealed, to be honest. Now, apparently the center is expected to make its present felt throughout several projects, including Creature Commandos that no one cares about, The Authority, whilst the Flash director Andy Muschietti has been named as a possible candidate to helm the Justice League movie. That's been going on before they even had a head of the studio, so that's kind of irrelevant. It's also worth noting that James Gunn himself shared artwork from the comic book back in February in speculation, actually spoke about this before, that it would be heavily inspired in the DCEU. Now, there's also been I hate the word leak because it's only a leak if it's real. And if it's not real, it's just rumor and people talking nonsense. So also, the leak does suggest that Superman will have a fight versus the Authority, Peacemaker Season 2, Lobo, Animal Man, and Mr. Terrific. The Justice League New Frontier, meanwhile, would conclude Chapter 1, and apparently they haven't even revealed half of the projects in Chapter 1, of course, because he didn't really say anything. We'll have to see if this is real, because Mr. James Gunn hasn't debunked this one, hasn't he? I do find it kind of funny and interesting how he decides to pick and choose what he debunks. Either debunk everything that's not real, or stay off the internet. Now, people have this perception that I'm so against the new DCU, I'm such a Snyder fanboy, even though I give James Gunn a lot of credit for Peacemaker and the Suicide Squad and Guardians 1, people still think I'm really against the new DCU. No, I'm not. I will be covering all the new information and most of the movies in the new DC universe, so I'm not against it at all. I just think things could have been done a lot better, and because I've somewhat got a small YouTube channel, I talk about what I think. I still think it would have been better had he done all this gods and monsters just with the same actors and just changed the storyline, hence the reason for the Flash movie. But that's not what's going to play out. That really isn't what's going to play out. So apparently the rumored villains for the new Superman, Wolfgang, make him Superman, please, please, please. So this news came about when the information that's going around Twitter stating that Superman will take on the Authority, which, for those unaware, the Authority is a more intense version of the Suicide Squad, aka a more powerful team with extreme methods that someone like Superman would probably find questionable. So yeah, that would be interesting if that would be the case. I'd still rather see any version of Superman go up against Brainiac in the 21st century. Even if it is Wolfgang, it would make sense for the Man of Steel to go against the Authority, and you could even have Henry Cavill play. You could even have Henry Cavill in the Authority. That would make most sense. And then James Gunn wouldn't have been misleading you when he said, "Yeah, we're looking for other roles for Henry Cavill." Yeah, have Henry Cavill in the Authority. That would be so cool, and you would win a lot of respect back, if that was something they were looking to do. So yeah, obviously Andy Muschietti is the front runner for this unlisted, unannounced Justice League movie, but let's be honest, he doesn't have a reputation in the comic book movie space yet. We can't judge how good the Flash movie is off what they paid Tom Cruise to say, yeah, it's a movie you should go see. Sure, Ben Affleck said it's good because he's in it. And yet, all these people keep coming going, it's scored the best since The Dark Knight. I very much doubt it's going to be on that level of acting and storytelling and script writing, but we don't know. Like I said, the script is fine for the Flash movie, but execution is everything. You can make any movie look great in a trailer, but it's when the movie comes out. So we can't talk about should Andy Muschietti direct the next Justice League movie, because let's be honest, the Flash movie is a Justice League movie, and maybe, sure, he could do it. So if he does a good job at directing it, We don't know until we actually see this movie, do we? We don't know that. But to base the next Justice League movie around a story that takes place in the 50s, they'd have to change a hell of a lot in this new universe if they're going to do a period piece. Age of the superheroes is in decline. And questions, but where are the heroes of tomorrow? That's a different story for a different time. But yeah, I'm somewhat looking forward to whatever the next Justice League movie is going to be. And sure, the Justice League movies don't have to be about the villain, but the villain's got to be just as interesting as the Justice League squad themselves. Reluctantly working together. So they're not going to get on. So we're going to have a bunch of characters, bunch of Justice League members who reluctantly don't want to work together, but they have to take the center out. I mean, the Center's an interesting character, but so is Starro. But we don't want a forgettable villain, do we? What's the point of that? But yeah, I'm going to be more positive about the DCU going forward. But I've never been negative about it. It's just the way some people take the way I talk. Maybe it's my British way. I don't know. But yeah, it will be interesting. It's just going to be very interesting to see who gets casted as who. So let me know who should be the main characters in the Justice League. Obviously, Superman, Green Lantern, Batman, etc. Wonder Woman. She appears in the Flash movie, and she appears in Aquaman 2, apparently. Are they going to recast Aquaman? We don't know. So let me know or how you would do the next DC universe, how you would recast the members. If you recast them, what storyline would you go with? Down below, let me know. Write me some fan fiction in the comments. So, like always, guys, check us out on Instagram at Warstu to see the beautiful face behind the beautiful voice. Check us out on Twitter, WarstuG. And I will catch you in another video very soon. Catch you later.